Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. I'm Tom from Recovery Live, coming back from 2 weeks of broadcasting remotely from California and then from Wisconsin. We're back in our home territory today, and we got some great subjects coming up over this next month. We've had a wonderful time over the last few weeks of actually carrying our message out at several retreats. I want to bring my co-host Sean Higgins on to the show. How are you today, Sean?
Hey, back to back, kicking some addictions, but it would rhyme better if we use the other word. But I'm gonna be PG for this show. We're on Facebook. Keep it down a little bit. But I'm pumped. What do you think? 120, 110 people totally getting their lives changed over the last 2 weeks. It was flipping awesome.
It really was. I mean, it's like it's almost like a dream to think back to what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. But it's what we love to do. It's busy, but it's not hard. For me, anyway. We're busy and it's nonstop, but it's really not hard work when you love it, right?
Hey, I made a little video from the Amory retreat. You want me to play it? You want to see it? I edited it myself and everything. I'm hoping Tim from 3 Summers is watching because I'm looking for a job. Here we go. I'm gonna play it. So, guys, this is Saturday night after we rock the steps out. And you can see on the looks of people's faces, they're having a good time. So with all you viewers out there, never been to a Can't Believe retreat, I was like, hey, let's let them in on a little bit of it. So, hey, Sean here. We're at the retreat in Wisconsin, hanging out with God. We just went through our first 9 steps. How'd it go for you, Rob?
It went great. One of the best experiences I've ever had.
What did you think when you were coming in here? Were you excited, or were you kind of like, I don't know about all this stuff? Or
personally, I was excited.
Nice.
I was excited to come here. The will to change and live a better life is exactly where I experienced that. Good.
Awesome. How about you, my man?
I loved it. I was excited from day one.
Look at this smile. Look at this smile. You're back for your second time. And not because you relapsed, right? So you must be really pumped to be back here again.
I am, yeah. This is about right here.
Yes, amen. Awesome, guys. Thank you. How was the retreat for you? Did you love it?
I love it.
Yes. Look at all these smiling. But you have a good time?
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm shooting some stuff for Recovery Live.
Oh, hi.
We're not a good live.
Hey, Thomas Clancy. This is going to be on Recovery Live, my man. You're going to get to comment on your own video. Yes. Awesome. Everybody's having a good time, chilling back. All right, we just got through our 9 steps today.
Woo!
Yeah. First time through, right? How was it for you?
It was amazing.
Yes. It's been great. You just beat a 7-year prison sentence, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Feeling real good right now.
So this works for everybody.
Yeah, even a guy like me.
Yeah, hey, man. How about you, man?
This will work if you work it. Let it work.
Hey, this is your first retreat, right?
First retreat, super free.
Really?
Yes.
It stuck for you, huh?
Amazing experience.
Awesome.
Loved it.
Awesome. Your weekend go, guys. You guys having a fun time?
Great.
You got through all 8 steps today. You're going to do your 9?
Yep.
Awesome. You're a leader. You had a great time, didn't you?
Yeah, leader, recovered.
Woo! That a boy. You guys down there, you recovered? Yes. There you go. A little insight into a Wisconsin retreat weekend. What do you think of that, Tom?
That was awesome. I don't even know when you were doing all that, but I guess you were walking around filming all that. But I mean, I was there. And so, Sean, that our viewers might say, that wasn't staged. You were just walking around. That was what we experienced all the time throughout the weekends. It's very real and very genuine, that whole thing. I had like goosebumps because I remember it all.
It's funny because if you go to Friday night, it's not, that ain't no Friday night.
Right.
Friday night's real, there are a lot of hurting people in there. The song for Friday night is Desperado, and it really hits hard. It hits home. And so if you can think of that clip compared to like Desperado, that's the change that happens in literally 24 hours. It's nuts. So yeah, I had a blast filming that. I have a blast every time I'm at the retreat watching people people's life change. And I kind of want to touch on a little bit of, Wisconsin's one thing, but then we were all the way over in California. That's a whole different ball game. People say, can you bring this message across the United States? Does it have the same impact? And even though, I thought that the Wisconsin retreat was one of the best retreats I ever went to, I thought the San Jose retreat was actually a little bit more powerful, because those people were just absolutely devastated. I mean, they were broken as they come, sitting with guys who were looking at RICO cases, out on $150,000 bail, putting hits on each other, homeless. Really rock bottom people. And we saw that you could have duplicated that video for Saturday night at that retreat, huh?
We absolutely did. I mean, we actually did get it on video. We just don't have it to show you yet. We videoed the whole thing. And actually in that one, Sean, we did get the Friday night reactions, so we'll show a full transformation. One of the interesting things, like you said, which made San Jose so powerful was there were people there that were touched that weren't even there to be touched. The leadership staff of City Team, they weren't really there to go through it for themselves, and they all got touched.
100%. I'll tell you what, I wish I had this as my full-time job. I'd go every weekend to those. It's the coolest experience to come back and just watch, because you having been through so many now, I can look at people on Friday night and literally promise that they will look different on Sunday. I say not everybody, because if you don't want it, it's not going to work. But you can make a promise that there will be people that are looking at me right now that we'll never use again, whose lives will be completely changed, who will be different people on Sunday. And you see it every single stinking time. It's unbelievable.
And what's so much fun for me is the doubters on Friday, right? There's so many doubters, and doubters that we might get now watching us saying you can't do it in 3 days. It can't be done. But you got to go. It cannot be denied when you see those changes, Sean, right? You just can't be denied. Mm-hmm. Something happened.
100%.
Hey, let's take a look at some of those that are joining us. Let's see. Tom Clancy's joined us today, Sean.
Hold on. You got me all mixed up. Unless you're going to click on it, let's just go down. I can't find him right away. Let's go right here. Who do we got here? Look at this. Good morning from Philadelphia. Oh, somebody found him. Tom Clancy. Yes, we saw him. So we got Philadelphia. He's from Illinois, down in Chicago. We got Thad from Wisconsin. Wow, look at this. Montana. Tim Seitz. He was a great first night speaker, huh? He really brought it home.
Yeah, he was fabulous.
Doc Roth.
So we did say we had some good discussions with Tom Clancy, actually, and he's agreed to come on to Recovery Live here in the next few weeks to give us a testimony and talk to us a little bit about what happened. So that's going to be fun. We bring Thomas on. Man,
the comments are just flowing in. I can't keep up. We might have to get a second person to help us with this. I do want to point this one out, though. Look at 11 months tomorrow. Let's go. Woo, Santa Barbara. Sweet. Congratulations on 11.
All right. Amanda's here. She did a great job with First Step Retreat Experience, right?
Oh, she brought it home.
So she was there. Yep.
I want to just touch base on, we got to learn a little bit about Tom's story, Tom Clancy. He actually, I thought I was really touched, and I say this with all humility, but when he watched this show, he was going to AA and he said, I don't have what those two have, and I really want it. And then he's been tuning in ever since, and now he got the freedom at the retreat. So that's pretty cool. So any of you out there watching who are saying like, man, I don't have this happy, joyous, and free thing the big book talks about, reach out to us. There's virtual retreats, there's in-person retreats, there's all sorts of cool stuff going on. So, and look at, they got people now. He knows people. They're talking through the comment section. This is great.
Right.
This is awesome.
It was really great, and we had several people that came to the retreat that found us from this broadcast, that didn't know anything about us and found us somehow through social media and showed up at the retreat. We had another couple that came and they were also touched.
And now I sponsor one of them. So let's go. Let's go.
No.
Hey, I thought it'd be fun to do a little segment here. I pulled up some AA memes, just to get us kind of in the, not a glum lot thing. So I don't know if you noticed this, but they changed the medallion. So anyone who got a sober birthday in 2020 or 2021, this is what your medallion looks like. So just so you're aware, you got to turn that back in. I don't know about you, but we almost had this happen at the retreat. We had a little coffee incident, right? So this really rings home when a crazy AA finds out there's no coffee at this meeting. He's cocking his gun back. It's true. And then, I know there's some punny people out there. So there's some people who are going to like puns. This one's going to make Tom roll his eye, but this is my kids set this up. It's an AA meeting for all our AA batteries. No laugh from Tom on that. He's too serious for all that. So
I'm looking at Casera's eye rolling and she's shaking her head too. So you have no support with that one, Sean.
Well, I thought it was good.
So we do want to welcome Casera behind the scenes today. She's with us, keeping us straight from behind the scenes.
Yep, she's not keeping us too straight since she let that AA meme, battery meme come out. So she really should have been on that. She can see it was queued up. She should have said, guys, this ain't going to fly.
Oh, I see it too. I didn't know what you were doing with that. I just didn't know.
What's your, what shirt you wearing today?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm wearing I'm recovered shirt today. Gotta.
The cool thing about that shirt, just to talk about that shirt quick, is a guy came in on Friday night and he said, I can't buy that shirt. He said, because I'll never be recovered. And then on Sunday he was wearing it. But, we see it so much, we don't realize how, prevalent that thinking is in AA, that you can't be recovered even though it's on page 1, right? So I love the I am recovered shirt.
So Rick S from City Teams called me the other night, Sean, who you met while we were out there, and he's been keeping tabs with City Teams, and he said we've caused them so much trouble because they're all running around saying they're recovered and they're not equipped or trained yet to deal with how to take them, how to coach them on 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. So I'm going to go out there next week and I'm going to stop in. We're hoping to get some systems in place to help them, Sean, with these places they need a little coaching on how to do this.
I love causing trouble. And I love the I am recovered shirt. I got my, I came to believe this is not the tumbler. This is the tumbler. We learned that.
Right. I have mine.
Follow me on Instagram for more beverage container information. You got yours. You might have seen a lot of people in the video wearing the End Addiction shirts. I absolutely love that. Get that out there. We're going to be giving away some merch at the end of this episode. I think we're just going to do a End Addiction t-shirt this time. But if you want some merch, you can head on down to our our website, cametobelieverecovery.org. Yeah, there you go. I knew Casera would beat me to the punch and get that up there. And if you would like to be entered into the drawing today, just go to the comment section of whatever platform you're in and let's see, put in #recovered and you will get entered. We got one entry in right now. So someone beat us to the punch. They knew this was coming, but get #recovered into the comment section and you will be entered to win a t-shirt at the end of the show. Boom. You'll get your merch and everything. And you'll be able to rep like the people in the videos. It's funny. Those were all new people. And it was just littered with Came to Believe shirts, right? It's kind of cool.
Everybody had them by Saturday. Yeah. So wait, let's talk about the coffee for a minute, Sean. Let's talk about coffee for a minute. Right. So we had a small coffee incident at the retreat, but that got solved. But Dale Barker and I were quite shocked to know that the closest Starbucks to Amory, and you guys all need to know this, to where we have this retreat, the closest Starbucks was a 1-hour drive.
I'm not a Starbucks fan.
It's just science. We'll see how many. It's amazing that Dale and I went. But of course, that shows our commitment. Right there. Oh, Dale's in. He's on there today, listening from Cocoa Beach today. But our commitment, no Starbucks. It was an hour away. So here's my other thing. I'm a coffee. We all have our coffee things, right? Like how we like our coffee and how we're done. I'm a hot coffee person. I don't know how many of you out there are, but my coffee is to be so hot. For me, when I drink it out of almost any mug, anytime, it gets cold too fast. So these things are perfect for that.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
There's a trick. If you put hot water, boiling water in it first and preheat it, then put hot coffee in it, it stays hot for hours. So
I like my coffee like my wife, smoking hot. It's just how it is.
I can't see Casera, but I'm sure she's shaking her head right now.
Love you, babe. I know she's watching.
She's watching too. You said that to your wife, not to Casera, right?
Yeah, no. Give me no.
Mixed. So let's talk about some of the retreats coming up, because we got a great. The spring is really going to heat up here with retreats. We have a Lake Junaluska in North Carolina that's going to go off the first weekend in April. We have lots of openings. If you're in that central New Jersey, that Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, North, South Carolina area, please go. And so you will meet the great Steve Foreman. He'll be there. Steve and Sue Foreman are going to be there. I plan to go myself. It's going to be a great retreat the first weekend in April. Then Mother's Day weekend, we're going to be at Redwood Glen. There's an ad out that you can see. Sean and I did a promo video for it. Redwood Glen is in Loma Mar, California, and that's serving the Bay Area. So that'll be not like what we did at City Team. It'll be more of one of our traditional retreats. Then the week later, we're actually looking at 2 retreats the same weekend, which is like one of our dreams. We're going to be back up in the sanctuary in Clear Lake, which is where we just had that retreat, and in Leesburg, Florida, for the home retreat, the starting where it all began down in Leesburg. I'll be in Leesburg this year. Sean will be carrying the torch up there in Clear Lake. And then the weekend after that, back to California for Nevada City, which is outside Auburn. So we got a lot of opportunities for Californians in the month of May to get a shot at hearing this great message. So if you're interested, if you're in those areas, then we're going to be in Arizona in July. So there's things, and we'll be back at City Teams in June right now, Sean. They're looking at getting us back there to run another group through. And this is great to keep having things to say, right? Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, we're looking at putting one together for there. So much happening. And I was talking to some people about the fall now coming up. So more and more opportunities.
100%, my man. 100%. You know, it's Employee Appreciation Day. Did you know that?
It is?
Yeah, it's Employee Appreciation Day. I think we should, you know, you're technically an employee of Came to Believe Recovery, and so is Casera. So I'd just like to give you guys a little hand, because really appreciate everything you guys do.
You should, you better include Snappy.
Oh yeah, Snappy too.
Bobby watching.
Dang, I'm so glad you were here to correct me on that.
Yeah, but you didn't think of her. I had to tell you, so you're in trouble. I'll get a text here in a minute that she's, yeah. Yep, see, she's on. Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do too many things at once. I was trying to pull up that video from the Glen Haven promo so we could play it, but I'm not finding it.
Dee from the UK is reminding us that in August there's a retreat in Kent in the UK. So, and there's a bunch of things going in the fall in UK. So if you find yourself over in the UK or you're there, we'll start announcing all that stuff along with the fall dates in the US when we get a little closer. And there you go. Thanks, Casera. You can go look at the Came to Believe UK site for all of the retreats that are going to go on in the UK. So we're all over the place. So,
are you sure that's up there, my man?
What's up there?
Are you sure that the Glen Haven video's up? I'm not finding it. Maybe it's going to be coming up.
You mean the Redwood Glen? It's
yeah,
an
Redwood.
It's a post. It's not on our website.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop looking. Stop hunting it down. I'm pretty pumped for these multiple pathways, or what are we talking about?
Wait, we had to see that. You didn't see that?
What did I see?
You keep turning it off.
Oh, man. We're not a gun lot, like Dale said.
I like this. Look, see, notice everybody how quickly he wants to move on. You poked the bear. What's not good. Anyway, yes, multiple pathways. So we are, guys. I think if you've been following us for a while, you know that we're getting ready to go into a little series of shows that we're going to talk about things under the category of multiple pathways. We're going to breach some of the subjects like harm reduction. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have some special guests on. In 2 weeks, we're going to have Jessica Blanchard. If that's the wrong name, Casera will tell me. And she's widely considered an expert in harm reduction and one of the premier advocates. So she's actually going to come on and talk to us about it. So that should be fun. Next week, we're working on trying to get someone from the medical field on with us. We got a couple things out, so you can come up to give us some of that perspective, the medical perspective. So we just want to have it all out there that we're not against any of it, and we hope they're not against us, right, Sean?
I'm against some of it, but
well, we're not against aligning to somehow partner alongside, at least that while that's going on, can we be an option as well?
Here's how I would say it. I'm well educated in what I understand about addiction. I'm biased, but I'm also open-minded. How about we put it like that? So I think you're going to hear a relatively constructive debate about things that I disagree with, as well as some willingness to change my mind, like has happened in the past. But I'm pretty sold out to Came to Believe. I mean, I don't see a lot of things work in 3 days like I see this work. So it's hard for me to say anything else. But in debating with some people in a positive and productive manner, I've come to realize that we are all working together towards the same thing. And my mind has been changed on a few subjects. So unfortunately for the viewers, I'll be off the show the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be in Florida on vacation with my family. So I won't be able to chime in on all the discussions. Maybe that's a blessing for some of our guests. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a blessing for me. Probably put it that way. But I just love Came to Believe, but I love everything. I love it helping addicts in any way, shape, or form. So,
yeah, I'm with you. Our experience is this. You know, when someone says to me, the only thing I have to share is in direct recovery process is what worked for me. But we'd be foolish not to be educated on other things that are out there or to deny that they exist. When someone else comes to me and says that they've gotten recovered some other way, who are we to say that they didn't, or that there couldn't even be another way? Maybe there is. I know what you mean, Sean. You and I don't know what that would be, and we haven't seen that, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Even the writers of the Big Book said there may be other ways, and our hat's off to you if you can. So, I think there are many pathways. We'll talk about some of these other ways today. We would have more, you and I, Sean, would align and be like, rolling our eyes more than we would at harm reduction. Because I think harm reduction has an element that we would completely support. There, D has a comment about harm reduction. Continue, right? So let's talk about it a little bit, right? Because Sarah did a bunch of research and then I did a bunch of research because she poked at us to do a bunch of research and got up to speed on some things I knew anecdotally. That's my big master's degree word about other things that are out there in the world of addiction. One thing I thought, Sean, that I found was a definition of recovery that came from a Many Pathways article that one of the researchers that Casera found. Tell me what you think about this, all right? You may have read it, but here's the definition of recovery. I think from a more of a clinical side. It said the essence of recovery is a lived experience of improved life quality and a sense of empowerment. That the principles of recovery focus on the central ideas of hope, choice, freedom, and aspiration that are experienced rather than diagnosed and occur in real life settings rather than in the rarefied atmosphere of clinical settings. Recovery is a process rather than an end state, with the goal being an ongoing quest for a better life.
Well, I don't know how you could disagree with that. I mean, that sounds pretty straightforward. I just, I don't know. There is an end goal though in mind. Once I became recovered, I'm not in recovery anymore. You know, I have life problems, but I know how to handle them.
Yeah, that's where I would change the definition to. I mean, I think the process to get recovered, and there's an end goal of being a quest for a better life, but we say and teach that it can be done from a recovered place so that you're not constantly in recovering. So, right. Essentially, I would agree with this too. You are always questing for a better life. And it does take it. That's a process, but from a recovered state. I just thought it was interesting what that definition, which we would probably write just a little bit differently.
Listen, from the day I first used drugs, the first time I smoked weed, I was an instant daily user from 14 until 16. I landed myself in treatment for 9 months. And then from there, I got out, had a little bit of a stint of sobriety, and was instantly back at it. And could not go a day there was never a day without drugs and alcohol. It wasn't even, I couldn't even fathom it. It was just a full-blown drug and alcohol addict all the way up into the day that God rocked me in the back of a cop car, which I'd love to share on this show one time, but now we don't have the time. And then I got into Came to Believe and was able to, trust God, clean house, and what's the third part? Trust God. It's only two, right? Trust God and clean house. When I was able to do that, and then from that point forward, I was rocketing into the fourth dimension of existence, and I've really never looked back. I mean, being an addict and an alcoholic is no longer a part of my identity whatsoever. I'm a responsible, productive member of society, contributing on multiple levels as far as a community leader, a business leader, a leader in the drug and alcohol community to bring other people towards freedom. But if I slip and stumble, I don't go, oh man, once an addict, always an addict. I'm back in, this is just part of recovering. Now I got to go back and do this. I don't think like that anymore. And I hear a lot of people, I take my will back. I'm going back to this. And so when you're in this constant state of convalescing, this constant state of healing, it's like you're standing in a prison cell and you don't realize the door's already unlocked. You're already past that. Now you're just a normal human being with normal problems, and you have actually exponential tools to use to get out of it that normal people don't have. You're actually beyond a normal person. You're an extraordinary human being at this point with extraordinary tools. So when people don't grasp that mindset, that's why a guy looks at the I am recovering / crossed out recovered t-shirt and says, oh, I'm not that guy. Well, what a disempowering way to view yourself. Well, you're not recovered. You didn't beat this thing. You could never beat this thing. What a crappy lifestyle.
Right. And it's, you're putting yourself down. It's a total disempowerment. That's a great word.
Look at this.
You're going to be constantly recovering, right? What, of course. Well done, Sean. That's going to get posted.
Oh, and then Tim was talking about me when he said this. Yes, you all are. Thank you for
listening. Amen to that, Sean. You guys have no idea with all these positive comments to Sean. This is not it's not so. See, Katie, stop, please. So good. But
the people, hey Tom, the people have spoken. I'm sorry. All right, guys, it's the Sean show now.
It's show. But we are so adamant about that, and it's very clear to people when we talk about it right on Sunday during doing step 10 about being recovered, that you can be in a place of recovered and still be making mistakes and cleaning up your life. But it's such a different mindset when I know that I'm not in the hole anymore, clawing out, and I am not less than. I am valuable. I was put here for a purpose in life, and that I'm important. And we are. And that's a great thing to get into everyone's head, that they can have success and just grow like everybody else. Actually better, like you said.
Well, here's the thing too. And there's two ends of the spectrum, and they both are part of they're not opposite of each other. They are opposite of each other, but they coexist. They're not, one doesn't supersede the other. So you got on this side, at the end of that spectrum, people who are dying from using. They're dying from drugs and alcohol. They're spreading disease. They're getting STDs. They hate themselves. They hate that they're alive. And you got people with the harm reduction who are saying, like, I will fight for these people. I am going to love these people. I am going to help these people, which we need. And I completely 100% agree with. But then you got us and me in particular on the other side of the spectrum that says, listen, once I'm fighting for the people who found freedom to not let you guys, the people who say you're always recovering, throwing all these religious rules on them, telling them they'll never be good enough and they need to find their righteousness and their peace. They got to fight for it. I'm on that side sandbagging and guarding those and saying, like, no, once you're free, you're free. You are free forever. You do not take my guy and tell him that he's going to be recovering and he's always going to be this and he's never going to do that. That is just as detrimental to me as somebody who's loving an addict in the gutter. If you're loving an addict in the gutter and that's what you're called to, that's awesome. But you have a passion for that. I have a passion to tell people who are recovered that, dude, you are recovered. Like, you do not let these religious people or these AA zealots pull you back into some sort of bondage, because I didn't need the 12 commandments. I needed the 12 steps and the process that led me to freedom.
Right. You walk up the steps, you don't have to do it again. You know, you're up at the top. It's one of our biggest battles is to scream from the highest mountain that 10, 11, and 12 works. And that's where we live each day. And it is a recovered place. And step 7 really works.
Well, and here I want to pull this comment up because Katie Suit, who's on her second retreat, said, you know, she feels like she finally grasped and experienced what it feels like to live in steps 10, 11, and 12 and not feel like I have to start over back at step 1 every time a character defect comes up. So much freedom in that. And that's 100% true.
Yeah, it's 100% true. If the root is gone, we make a mistake, we can move on. I mean, the core heart of recovering is that the root isn't gone. And that was never the intention, nor the action that happens when you go through these steps the way the founders did it. It is removed in step 7.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So all these groups, these many pathways, I think a lot of them end up on the same pathway. We're all at the same end goal. It's just where we're at. And the reason Came to Believe is growing such organic and grassroots success is because we're kind of like a finish line program. We're like when people are just about ready to cross into their new life, here we are to grab their hand and pull them across. But these other pathways have to get them there. And if a guy dies on the streets, our program is no good for him. You know what I mean?
Right. It's totally. So let's look at a few of these. But I'll take even your side, Sean. I'm going to say some of these programs, even when you read their definitions of them, their goal isn't to give them a 4th dimension of life. And their goal is to tell them that they're going to be recovering all the time and that they're going to be struggling. And part of the thing is that to manage things that we would say would definitely define recovering. And that is sad that some of that still is out there. Still might be a path for somebody, but we'll talk about why that might work for some people, because it was interesting. I was reading about the hard drinker today in the big book to talk about those that are actually not addicts. They're not the true hard alcoholic addict, where one of these methods might actually be better for them or be just fine for them. Mm-hmm. Because the big book says the hard drinker, if he's given the proper reason, proper motivation, can quit using other methods.
Yeah. And that's why, like, if you can convince someone to stop drinking, that's a hard drinker. But what you and I do at the retreat is convince them to take the next step. We use this. We are convincing, but we're not convincing them to stop drinking. We're convincing them to go, okay, now go on to 4, now go on to 5, now go on to 6, 7. That's all we can do. That's where our convincing comes in. But if a person doesn't get through 9 steps and live on 10, 11, and 12, who is real alcoholic like us, and like I see D put in the comment section, it ain't going to work. It just ain't. You can't convince me to stop doing anything.
Right. So let's look what's out there. There's things called natural recovery. There's recovery mutual aid groups, which I think is the 12-step groups would kind of fall under that. Medication assisted recovery, they call it MAT.
You see, I just want to throw this out there. You know, I've seen people, I don't see a lot of freedom in the Suboxone program in the heroin addict community. In fact, I see a lot of people slip back into it and they're like, really like, I need my Suboxone. And it's like, I can't, if something's going to get me a little bit high, it's going to keep that thing in my brain going. It's going to keep the phenomenon of craving going, the physical addiction going, and it's going to keep the mental twist just alive and well. I mean, as addicts, we really need to pull that Band-Aid off. And I know detoxing and keeping people from dying is one thing, but if you've been on Suboxone for 9 months, I mean, you're just asking to go back out and use. It's a Band-Aid.
There's a great comment from Thomas. Well, I was reading, you know, the other side of that medical assisted recovery, Sean, are things like people that have mental illness and all, and true medical imbalances, that we would never be against them to be on those type of medications that would help them balance. So that's like a different side to the Suboxone argument, I guess.
But I open my retreat up in Amory, the same joke every time. It's about my dad when I tell him, hey, Dad, my dad's an addict, 30 years clean. 35, I think he stood up for it this last retreat. But I say, Dad, hey, I hear there's a pill that cures alcoholism. And he looked at me and he goes, man, I wonder what 2 of those would do. And that's kind of the thought process behind some of that stuff. Eventually the mental twist takes over.
I mean, there's a group here called Moderation Management. What they kind of preach, how to control whatever it is that you are feeling out of control of. Interesting, right? Women of
you couldn't, if you're powerless and your life's unmanageable, how are you gonna? There's no ability to do that.
Right. Well, who would that be for? That's where I'm going. I mean, it wouldn't be for, in our experience, the true addict. It wouldn't be for them. We can't moderate. I've not been successful. We tried that, right? Everything we tried to moderate. Smart Recovery. There is Celebrate Recovery, Life Ring, and the 12-step fellowships are certainly outlined here. A Smart Recovery is one that I don't, I was never on board with Smart Recovery. It empowers people to assume responsibility for their own recovery. I wasn't able to do it, Sean. I didn't have the power. If you told me to do it, it's the whole our own conception of God, or God as we understood him myth that we try to straighten out at the retreats. I couldn't figure out my own way. I'd make sure it was a way that, didn't call my stuff on everything. And it says coping with urges and things. I don't know. Smart Recovery is one that I was always like, ugh, I don't know. Doesn't sound too smart.
I went to a place with you. Remember that? I had to leave. This was back when I was more immature. I was in my 20s, and I wasn't as refined as maybe some would think I am today. That's probably a hard word for people to swallow when they're thinking about me. But remember, I had to walk out of that one place when they told us that you get to decide what being recovered is, and you could still be getting high and still be considered recovered in that program. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Where was that you
I was up in your neck of the woods. We had pizza. I do remember that. And they were like, we let our treatment attendees decide what recovered means to them. And some of them it might still be using. And I was just like scratching my head. And finally, and the lady was really aggressive with us, and we weren't really being that aggressive back. Remember that?
I do remember now. Yeah. I don't remember that exact comment. I remember that we were not, well, we had Nathan with us, so we wouldn't go there with the same approach this time. But based on the approach he made, yeah, it was confrontational, which we didn't want it to be. Huh? Abstinence from the substance. I mean, I guess philosophically, we can't tell, people can define themselves any way they want, but how's it working for you? Which would be the question I would ask them. That's all. And is it leading you to the fourth dimension? I mean, right?
Well, and that's the whole point of this, is that I would love to get somebody on here to discuss it with me, because, I've tried a lot of stuff in the past, a ton. And this is the only thing that really pushed me over the edge. So, but the cool thing about it is a very widely debated topic, and people have a lot of strong opinions. So if we could get the right people on here, we could have some really good conversation.
Right. About the idea of what is the definition of recovered. We started with that. What's recovery? What is it for you? And what is it for us? I mean, for me, it's the fourth dimension of existence being recovered. It's a life that I never knew before. And it is free of substances. I live free of that. Not coffee, but that's not it.
Not Girl Scout cookies either.
No Girl Scout cookies. So that's what it is for me, and I think for you too. And most of the people that show up at our retreats, that's what they're looking for. So that's the other thing. I mean, what are you looking for? If someone's coming to us and they're looking to improve their life, but not define it without the substance, or try to manage. Maybe this, moderation management or one of these other programs is what they need. Who are we to say? But they show up at our retreats and they want to be free from this thing completely. They cannot. And so we are confronted with that, Sean. That's what we don't have people coming in saying we want to just figure out how to manage this. They come in saying we need to be off of it. And so that's what we lead them to. And it seems it happens every time. If they keep doing 10, 11, and 12, and they did step 5, right? All you guys that were in city teams and in Amory. And
it's just me, you know what I mean? And that's what you're going to get on this show is I'm pretty strong, sold out for Came to Believe. That's my thing. And I'm sticking to it, but I am open-minded, so I can get my mind changed. But you're going to hear, and part of the reason that I want to be aggressive on this show about it is because I want people to tune in. I want to have strong debates. And I'm not saying anything about, I'm not going to be passive about anything, but I do really, really believe in this program. And, the reason we have the success that we have is because of people like you and I saying like, nah, we're not going to waver on this. Like, if you want it, go this way and this way only. And then the people that are there, it works for them. Now, it could happen in any other program. I'm just not well versed on the other programs, and I'm open to hear about them, but I have a hard time with it.
I would love that too, Sean. I mean, we'd have to be foolish not to think that there's somebody that's going to come on here and speak at the top of their lungs at how successful their program is, just like ours. And we want those people to come on, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's let somebody come on and tell us that their program works the same as ours, and let's talk about it. I wonder about the fourth dimension. I'm with you, Sean. If
I respect people who are strong, who have a strong opinion and are confident in talking about their side and believe in their side. If we all looked the same, this world would be pretty boring, and so I'm good with that. I just I'm not afraid to get into nitty gritty with it either, and that's what I'm looking forward to do.
So I think, Sean, what we know is these things are out there, all right, all these programs, and when people go to get recovered, or they go and they seek assistance, they're confronted with a lot of this depending on where they go. These are programs that are offered to them. And ours is one of the programs. I mean, the 12-step programs are offered in these places. It's not traditionally exactly what we do, but they are offered in all these places. So I think our best bet and our greatest hope is that everywhere that there's anyone offering opportunities for people and a menu of things you could pick from, that the Founders way of recovering from addiction is at least offered. Mm-hmm. For people to give them this opportunity. That I know is maybe that's a low bar, Sean. I don't know, but I think it's a pretty big bar when it's not in these places.
I agree 100%. So I think it's time to switch out of this into our watered down AA segment, some rehydrated 12 steps. And I want to, first of all, just remind everybody, get your t-shirt, your recovered, put hashtag recovered in the, comment section we got 12 entries in right now. That's pretty good. We're getting more and more every week. But for the watered down AA thing is one of the things that happens in our segment of the recovery world is we very much are all about a spiritual solution, right?
Right.
100% about a spiritual solution. And very much rooted in what the God of the Founders was, and that's the biblical God with 1 Corinthians 13, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and the book of James. Really big part of it. What I've come to find and see in some of the groups that we end up becoming a part of, or people who find the freedom and then move into and seeking a deeper experience with God, is that they really forget where people come from. They really forget what it was like to not be in that position. And next thing you know, they become too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. And they put all these rules and stipulations on people. And it becomes about managing their sin and managing their behavior far more than it becomes about releasing grace. And wouldn't you say that the 12-step programs of the Founder was one of the most remarkable acts of grace that a human being could actually pour out onto somebody and what I want to hone this in on is the 5th step, where we're sitting there and listening to somebody just pour out their guts about all sorts of nasty acts. Well, it's not a ton. It's the biggest deep, dark secret. It's about, who they are as their character defects. But then you hear these secrets of like some really shameful sexual misconducts, or some, even I've heard about people killing other people. You just hear about a lot of really bad things that happen. And you just get to say, like, I'm not going to judge you, and I love you. And isn't that exactly what Jesus does? I'm not going to judge you, and I love you. And that's what we're doing in step 5, right?
It's exactly. We're meeting them right where they're at their lowest point, and telling them that we're going to join hands with them and walk with them side by side and help them out of it.
So then how can we expect somebody who hasn't even experienced that part of the program yet to behave in a man? I mean, they haven't even been through 7. They haven't asked God to remove their character defects. How can we expect somebody prior to that experience to even consider changing what's going on in their life as far as we'd consider sinful or, bad behavior? Why would we expect somebody to show up to a retreat or show up in our life or behave in a manner that's going to be suiting to what we think they should look like, rather than letting them to behave how they are and letting God do the work in step 7? Is there any part of the big book or the program of alcoholics or any of the sponsorship material that says we're responsible to tell them how they need to change? Or is it that God changes them in step 7 to be the person he wants them to be?
Yeah, we can't expect them to show up changed when they don't even know what needs changing.
Mm-hmm.
And we expect them to come in the door adhering to some rule that they don't even know applies to them or have chosen to have applied to them. I'm with you, Sean, 100%. When people show up, this is the heart of what we're doing, and why City Teams was so inspirational to us, is we were really meeting those people who were just way out on the edge, and we met them with radical grace.
Mm-hmm.
We had no concern with what they got there and how they got there and what position they were, and made no rules of them and no demands of them. We met them where they were, and we just talked to them.
And so what ends up happening, I think, is that when we take someone through the steps, I've seen this time and time again, when they get to step 3, turn their will and their life over to the care of God as we understood him, the sponsor puts himself in that God position. Like, you're now going to do everything that I tell you, when I tell you, and how I tell you. And if you don't do it that way, then you don't want it bad enough. Where when I sponsor somebody, I really go to what it talks about in the big book about step 10, where it says you need to start relying on this intuition you're building in you with your relationship with your creator, your constant contact. And 11 should give you some idea of what right and wrong is and where God wants you to go. And then if you have an issue with whether or not you're hearing correctly, or you feel your decision is correct or not, you can talk to me about it. But if someone I'm sponsoring says, do you think I should get this job? I go, well, that's something you're going to have to pray in step 11 about and hear for God's guidance on that. I'm not and then they say, well, no, I really want your advice on the matter. Okay, I'll give you some advice, but my job as a sponsor is to keep you connected to the God of the founders, so that you can continue to grow in that relationship and become less dependent on me and more dependent on that relationship.
Absolutely. And I would guide somebody through a conversation with themselves based on the character defects versus assets, liabilities versus assets, and say, so when you're thinking about the decision, is it moving you more towards resentful, fearful, untrusting natures, or is it moving you towards a courageous, beneficial aspect in life? Start weighing it, but guide them through that, not tell them what to do, right? Sean, teach them to begin to think in this manner as they're in their decision process, which is guided by the God that we took on in step 7. And you begin to have good decisions.
And the founders used
the benefits.
The founders used the 4 absolutes, so if you say like, hey, you're having a hard time hearing, you're having a hard time living at the moment, you're new, you're learning, just run it through these 4 questions. Is it absolutely pure? Is it absolutely unselfish? Is it absolutely loving? And is it absolutely, what is the 4th one?
Honest, unselfish, pure.
That's the most important one of them all.
Right, honest.
So it's really easy to even give your sponsee some tools. So I'm really cringe at when these, like when religious people or religious like thinking gets into AA, and now there's all these rules that you get to control your sponsee with, or that you're being controlled with by your sponsor, when it's not about that. This is a program of freedom and grace, where we are experiencing a level that other human beings don't usually get to experience, to look someone in the eyes, tell them the worst thing you ever did that you'd never tell anybody, and let them not judge you, and then move them through the steps to a relationship with their higher power that allows them to be free and continue to be free.
You know, and have them have a freedom where they're open enough to actually do that, Sean, and feel vulnerable enough to be able to tell somebody that is that gift that we have now, the gift that the program gives, that they can tell us that and then move through it without shame or guilt, because they can't get past it. It's what's kept them in bondage.
I
like what Pat says, right? It's more of a mentorship thing. I think that's a much better definition of what should be happening. Is walking alongside, like you're saying, and not so much a commander. I mean, I've heard nightmare stories of people sponsoring people. I mean,
here's the thing is, like, once you've gone through the steps, you are capable of sponsoring somebody through the steps. You can then take them through the steps, but you're not capable of mentoring them. Like, you don't have, just because you're 6 months sober, you don't have marital advice. You don't have life experience advice. You just have the ability to take someone through the steps, which is fine. And as you grow in the program, you become more and more capable of mentoring somebody and counseling somebody. But in the beginning, those two, they're synonymous, and they're not. I was sponsored through the steps by Jack Rapp. I didn't call him ever after that, but he sponsored me through the steps. And I had different mentors in my life beyond that, and he would have made a great mentor. It's just he was in Florida and I was in Wisconsin. So it's making sure that we realize the difference in that, because what happens is a sponsor who's not ready to, or who thinks they're a mentor, becomes very controlling and just piles rules on top of their sponsee because they don't know any better. They don't know how to deal with it.
Well, that's where we give that great advice. Get someone you want what they have. Watch someone where the promises are coming true in their life, and they seem to be living a life free from all the issues that you don't want in your life. What else can we do? Look for that person who has what we want.
Well, and it's the thing that really drives me nuts too about the subject is, like, you got the one sponsor rule. Well, yeah, one person sponsors you through the steps, but now I have 3, 4, 5. Everybody who becomes my friend that has more than 10 years of sobriety, or 5 years or 2 years, is now my mentor too. I call him when I need advice. I don't have to just go to one person all the time. I don't have a Graham Poobah in my life who hoards out his advice for Sean Higgins and how to live, you know?
So you have 4 or 5 people you don't listen to?
I pick and choose. I call the ones that they're going to tell me what I want to hear.
I know. I get the calls on certain subjects, and other people get the calls for other subjects. It's really it's really important, though, as we move forward, to have that. I mean, a good sponsor relationship, I think, moves into a friendship eventually. You know, my sponsor, quote unquote, we're really friends now, and he is a mentor to me, and he's someone I would, as a confidant, I have my inner circle of people that I talk to. I think it's absolutely important to have a few people on your inner circle for different things.
And to make sure, because you got to make sure that people aren't, the one thing that drives me the most nuts is when all of a sudden these rules are piled on people when they're new, and the freedom becomes something that they got to continue to earn. And it ain't part of the deal. You know, especially when you really start diving into your step 11 and you have a conscious contact with God and you're continuing to grow that. I trust God that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, he'll make it very evident. And if I continue to go down that path, he'll make it even more evident. I look at it like a choker collar. Like, he's like, okay, Sean, we're going to give you some freedom, but oh, no, don't go that way. What are you doing? You know, I trust God like that. I trust that I don't have to put all my ducks in a row to move forward with my life and to make sure I look spotless and clean and perfect. I trust that if I take a risk and it doesn't manifest, he's going to pick me up. Or if I go off path, he's going to pull me back in. Or if I need to do something for somebody, he's going to make it clear. And I live on that. And that's what the program is about, is getting people to live in that sort of intuitive thinking that allows them to be of use and not stuck, scared and fearful of making the wrong decision, or should I do this, or I didn't do that, or, you know, I don't like that. I don't like when it's like there's some sort of measurement to whether or not you're free. Like, how many meetings do you go to a week? How many passages in the big book have you read this week? How many Bible verses have you read this week? None of that matters. it's all about growing in relationship with God so that you can intuitively live with him in a free world on the fourth dimension.
I don't know why we try. This is our message wherever we go. Anna Branson has a great comment about counseling. I mean, when someone comes to me and they clearly need counseling, I don't counsel. I send them to a counselor, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they need medical attention and that happens, we send them to it. It's important that we know our boundaries and we know what we do and don't do when it comes to religion. We're disservicing people when we go in and control them and try to think that we're going to be their right. How are we empowered or qualified to give counseling? In a lot of cases, it's just a very wise way to be is to know when to, like you were saying, step and when to stand.
Well, and the one of the coolest things about step 10 is like all of a sudden, like if you're doing your 10 and you keep giving it to God in 7 and you keep giving it to God and you keep giving it to God and it keeps popping up, that's a good tool to say like, gosh, maybe this thing was more traumatic in my life and it's not just going to go away overnight. Maybe I do have to go seek some counseling. So that's the whole thing. It's not even the most charismaniac of us think you put it on this one side where all faith, all faith, all faith. No, the second you make it about anything other than your personal relationship and what you're supposed to do personally, then you're taking away from the power of this program, which is complete freedom. So if I got miraculously set free from a traumatic experience because that's what God wanted to do for me in step 7, that's one thing. But if there's things in my life he didn't take away that I do continue to work on with professional help and friends and mentors and counselors. And if that's you, there's no shame in that. But there's a real big danger in the people that say like, well, you just don't have enough faith. Well, really? Because I don't know if you know how bad I hurt. And I have a lot of faith for this. So you're hurting me even more. I hate that too. I hate that more than anything.
I think sometimes, Sean, some people get stymied with that, false theology or that blinders theology where they don't see the forest for the trees. That whole thing where, the guy breaks his leg and he prays to get healed and the doctor knocks on the door and he says, no, I'm waiting for God to heal me. And he sent the doctor to him. We had somebody like that at retreat who was talking about wanting this physical healing and praying for healing and praying for healing. And I just said, have you ever gone to a doctor? I said, maybe you should go to a doctor. Your healing could come from a doctor. And it was so surprising that I would think that was an appropriate path to take if you're moving down the path or being surrounded with charismania. I love that, right?
Charismaniacs.
Why is the healing in my back not a God thing? He gave the talents to the surgeon that healed my back. I totally believe that. So
100%.
This balance and relationship building is why I want to do that. Just and connect. Well, we're getting near the end of the hour. Actually, we are a minute over, Sean. Today.
Well, let me play this last comment and then we'll rock it out because I really think this. I want to highlight this, and then it's Anna saying that she just likes to encourage, and I think that's probably the biggest way that I work the step number 12. People know if you tell someone they can't do it, they already think that. If you try to help somebody figure out how to do it and give it all this game plan, then you're making it more bigger than it needs to be. But if you just tell them you can do it, that may be the first time in their life they ever. If you just get by them and be like, you got this, you can do this, you're amazing. Just start saying things about them that they may have never heard from anybody else. I'm proud of you. I go around the retreat after the steps are done and just hug people, say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. These are things that people need to hear that people don't put a lot of weight on. So yeah, I'm with her. I like to encourage. I love it. So
yeah, I've gotten that way too. Or less to tell people what to do, but just encourage them that they can get out of it. Seek the answer.
Atta boy. All right, hit us out. Now you have my full permission to move on from this segment, Thomas.
To move on. Really? Thank you. You hear that? I got his permission. So guys, for the next 2 weeks, next week, I'll actually be in California again. I'll be able to be broadcasting from a remote location, and we're going to see who we're going to have. Keep an eye on your Facebook, your posts, and your announcements to see our special guest will be next week. And then in 2 weeks, I'll be coming to you with our harm reduction specialist expert, with Anna. Maybe we'll have Casera on with us that week and see who else we have. But till then, guys, have a great weekend. We'd love to see you here on Recovery Live every Friday at 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 5 o'clock in the UK. We're talking all things recovery. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.